There's a woman who makes good money, stable job, decent salary, nothing reckless about her spending. And every single month she opens her banking app expecting to see savings sitting there. And every single month there's almost nothing. Not because of one big purchase, not because of anything dramatic. The money just quietly disappears, a little bit at a time until it's gone. She told me something that stuck with me. She said, "I feel like I'm bad at math, except I'm not bad at math. I just can't figure out where it all goes." If that sounds familiar, I want you to know something before we go any further. This isn't a willpower problem, it's not a discipline problem, and it's definitely not a math problem. What's actually happening is far more interesting. Saving money stops feeling like some mysterious skill other people have, and you don't. It starts making a lot more sense why the same advice keeps failing you over and over, no matter how motivated you feel at the start of the month. Let's start with the first reason saving feels impossible, and it's going to sound strange. Your brain doesn't actually feel future money as real. There's a concept in psychology called present bias. Basically, your brain treats money you could spend today as vivid and real, while money you're saving for the future feels abstract, almost imaginary. It's the difference between holding a warm meal in your hands right now versus being told there's a meal waiting for you in 6 months. One feels real, the other barely registers. Here's a small example of how this plays out. Imagine someone offers you $50 today, or $70 in 3 months. Logically, waiting is the better deal, but most people take the $50 now because their brain weighs now far more heavily than later, even when later is objectively worth more. Saving money asks you to fight that exact instinct every single time you get paid for the rest of your life. This is why saving advice like just put money aside for your future self often fails. Your brain doesn't experience your future self as urgently as it experiences you right now wanting something. It's not that you don't care about your future, it's that your brain isn't wired to feel it the same way it feels the present. Here's the second reason, and this one explains why saving feels harder some months than others. Willpower is not a fixed resource. It drains throughout the day, and most spending decisions happen when yours is already low. Think about when you actually make impulse purchases. Late at night, after a stressful day, when you're tired, overwhelmed, or emotionally drained, that's not a coincidence. Resisting spending takes mental energy, the same limited energy you use making decisions all day at work, managing relationships, handling responsibilities. By evening, that energy is usually running low, right when temptation is highest. I used to think impulse spending meant something was wrong with my self-control. What I didn't realize is that I was mostly failing at the exact moments my willpower was structurally at its weakest. It wasn't a character flaw, it was bad timing happening on repeat every single day. Once I noticed that pattern, the guilt around it actually started to fade because I could finally see it for what it was. A predictable moment of weakness, not a permanent trait. Now here's something that surprises a lot of people. Saving money often fails because it depends on remembering to do it, and memory is a terrible foundation for a financial system. If your plan is, "I'll save whatever's left at the end of the month," you're relying on your brain to consistently prioritize saving over every other decision made throughout 30 days. That's an enormous amount of trust to place in memory and motivation. And usually, by the time the end of the month arrives, there's nothing left, not because you spent recklessly, but because life is full of small, reasonable expenses that quietly add up first. A birthday gift here, a car repair there, none of it feels irresponsible in the moment. It just adds up faster than saving ever gets the chance to. This is why people who successfully save aren't usually more disciplined. They just removed memory from the equation entirely. The saving happens automatically before they ever have the chance to forget or negotiate with themselves. Let's talk about a fourth reason, one that's a little more emotional. For a lot of people, saving money doesn't feel like progress. It feels like deprivation. If your relationship with money was shaped by scarcity, growing up watching every dollar get stretched thin, saving can trigger something unexpected. Instead of feeling secure, putting money away can feel like reliving that scarcity all over again. Spending, on the other hand, feels like finally having enough, like proof that things are okay now. I once heard someone describe it this way. Every time she tried to save, a quiet voice in her head would whisper, "You didn't have this growing up. You deserve to enjoy it now." And that voice wasn't lying to her. It was protecting a version of her that genuinely went without. The problem was, that voice never learned the difference between survival and safety, so it kept treating every dollar saved as a dollar being taken away from her all over again. This creates a strange loop. The very habit that would create long-term security feels, in the moment, like punishment. And the thing that feels like relief, spending, is actually what keeps the cycle going. Nobody tells you that saving can be emotionally uncomfortable for reasons that have nothing to do with numbers. But for a lot of people, it genuinely is. Here's the fifth reason, and it might be the most overlooked one. Saving money is boring, and your brain is not built to prioritize boring things over interesting ones. There's no immediate reward for saving, no dopamine hit, no visible change in your life. You save $100 and nothing about your day looks different. Compare that to spending, where the reward is instant, visible, and immediate. Your brain, wired for immediate feedback, will almost always choose the option that feels like something happened. This is why gamified saving apps, roundup features, visible progress bars actually work. They're not tricking you. They're just giving your brain the immediate feedback it naturally craves, attached to a behavior that used to feel like nothing was happening at all. So if saving feels impossible because of present bias, willpower depletion, memory dependency, emotional scarcity responses, and a lack of immediate reward, what actually works? Honestly, the answer isn't more discipline. It's designing a system that doesn't require you to remember, resist, or feel motivated at all. Automatic transfers the day you get paid before you ever see the money, removing the decision entirely instead of hoping you'll make the right one every single time. Think about it this way. You wouldn't expect yourself to resist a cookie sitting on the counter every single day for a year without eventually caving. Eventually, exhaustion wins. So the smarter move isn't to build a stronger version of yourself who can resist the cookie forever. It's to stop putting the cookie on the counter in the first place. Saving works the same way. Take the decision out of your hands before your tired, end-of-day brain ever gets a vote. If you've tried to save before and failed, I don't want you to see that as evidence you're bad with money. I want you to see it as evidence that you are relying on willpower to fight a battle your brain was never designed to win consistently. That's not a personal failure. That's just how brains work. So here's what I'd leave you with. Stop trying to become a person with more willpower. That person doesn't actually exist, not reliably, not for months on end. Instead, build a system so automatic that saving happens whether you feel motivated or not. Because the goal was never to save money through sheer force of discipline. The goal is to make saving something that happens quietly in the background, whether you're paying attention or not. Not because you finally became a different kind of person, because you finally stopped asking that version of yourself to show up every single day.